Happy New Year. What am I doing today? I'm trying to catch up on the WASM port, the WebAssembly port. WASM, WASM. Yeah, cool, the stream is working. Sick. So, where do we start? So, I guess I can show you the build file. I can release this all on GitHub eventually once I clean it up a bit more, because as it stands, it's a tremendous mess. If you want access to the code, then just let me know and I can upload it, so you can take a look at it and learn from it. But what I have here, I have the build commands for Windows. I use the Windows toolchain to build in this bat file. And then immediately after, I build with Clang to WASM, WebAssembly, and it exports it to WebAssembly code that you can then load into a browser. And I wrote, you can go to YouTube and look like how to write a server in C++. That's what started this whole project. I just got curious, like, how does a server work exactly? And then I copied over that code and tweaked it a little bit so I can serve myself my own website file, which is right here. And it's a black canvas right now because we're hitting an infinite loop. I'm trying to figure out why. Back in, I started doing this back in July, or at least I wrote the server back in June or July. Now, what even happened? I was at a friend's wedding, and I was telling his older brother how I wanted to write a website from scratch, and he recommended WebAssembly. And so I started learning that, and I figured out I could port my code to it. And then I got like a software renderer. It's called Mini Renderer? Mini Software Renderer? Tiny Renderer? Yeah, I think it's called Tiny Renderer. I'll try and pull up the link so I can show you. It's called Tiny Renderer, where you just learn some basic C. And this guy has a whole series of articles that you can learn from, like how to draw lines, how to draw pixels, and then you can connect those pixels together to make lines, and then you fill in those lines with triangles, and then you can do lighting on those triangles, and then eventually you can software render stuff in 3D. And so I started doing that, and I also had the idea of porting it to WebAssembly, and I got it working. And then in September I dropped my 3D voxel engine, and I wanted to work fully on the 2D engine side, and so I started getting into font rasterization, and from there I just never bothered fixing up the WebAssembly, so it's remained in a broken state for the past few months. And recently, it would be cool to have my own website that I made totally from scratch. So to that end, I'm just fixing up my stuff, and who knows, maybe you'll see a little physics demonstration and a little from scratch website in the next few months. But there's a lot of code paths that I've neglected or I never initialized on the WebAssembly side. Like this code right here, and it gives me an infinite loop probably because I accessed null memory. And so we're going to spend the next few hours figuring out what's wrong with it. And it's going to take a long time, and it's not going to make any sense. So yeah, please enjoy yourself, because I certainly won't be. But I have no idea how to debug WebAssembly stuff. Like, half of the idea, yeah, I called this whole thing website, and I think originally I was just developing fully for this website thing, and then I realized, well, it's very difficult to debug this, so I should make a native Windows port as well to test it there. And then I just went deeper on the Windows port without actually servicing the WebAssembly side. So yeah, there we go, it's unresponsive. So gotta figure out why. Recompile it. So what happens is that every time I compile this, I compile all the Windows code, and then you should see, I guess you see, I guess it doesn't actually tell you, but I'm also compiling it to Clang. I'm compiling it to a Win WebAssembly. Can I open this? No, I don't really want to. But so I have the server running, and the server has access to this WASM file, and then whenever a browser requests access, like I'm doing right now, we're just hosting it locally. Okay, cool. So I got it working this morning a little bit. Oh, cool. I can even drag the slider around. But you can see it's totally fucked up, and I need to figure out why. And you can use the debug console in the browser. And I think, well, this text input thing, this is, I need to consolidate all the different paths between Windows and the website. Like, the Windows has a different input system, and I need to somehow use that same system with the websites, so that the same commands can go to the engine layer. Because the engine layer is agnostic. Like, I either have a Windows platform that's laying under it, or a website platform, and the data is initialized differently, and I need to consolidate as much as I can. Which is what we're doing right now, and I think the problem is these player input things. I need to remember how they're initialized. But I suppose... Oh, and also if it's not defined web build. If not defined web build. Okay. I can't remember. I can't remember how this basic thing works. But what's happening is that when we're building on the website, all of this code below this doesn't get compiled in, and then when I move this down here and then I reload the website, we hit an infinite loop. So I'm just going to go step by step and try to print everything, including the new index, whatever this can be. It's like the game tick. Just want to make sure this is getting updated. And this print int thing, like, I don't have printf set up yet. I have a little stub function for it. I have a labor web platform. This is like the 2D labor engine. And these are all the functions that I have bridging over from JavaScript, because you run it in a browser, you don't have access to the regular C runtime library. So you either need to make your own or port over what you can from the JavaScript side. I have a little JavaScript bridge here. Win website JavaScript. I was learning WebAssembly, WebGPU, and so I have like a whole shader written in here. But this is the JavaScript file. It's horrible. I hate JavaScript. It's very obtuse, not like C at all. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, if you're a JavaScript developer and you're not familiar with C, you might feel the same way, but inversely. Anyway. In JavaScript, I guess I'll just show you the whole pipeline. We have an HTML page. This. It's very basic. A lot of it is common to that. We just have a canvas, and then we request a source file from that same... We get the HTML file back from the website, and then once we load it, we see, oh, we need a JavaScript file. And so we ask the website for this JavaScript file. And so we get it. And then this JavaScript file loads, and then inside it also asks for a WebAssembly file that it waits for. And then once it loads, then we start running that WebAssembly code, which is just the two-dimensional engine. And then inside that engine, it like runs all of its routines, including software rendering, and then it gives us back a pixel buffer that we then paste to the canvas in the website. So I'm trying to outsource as much browser work as possible to my C code, and a lot of the stuff is for when I was learning WebGPU, working with matrices. It's just how it works in JavaScript. But I initialized the functions somewhere. There are a bunch of event listeners for getting different inputs that I need to funnel to that same struct that I use in Windows. Yeah, I think this is it. This is where I declare all the functions. But like print float, printf, it just it all goes to the console. I can hardly remember how half this stuff works. But at the same time, I import that to the C code right here, and then I have like a stub function for printf. And we can do this some other time. I don't want to do it right now, but it's like writing your own printf and then sprintf, because we don't have access to the C library. Anyway, so let's look at this. Okay. It's definitely updating, right? Snapshot buffer. What do I use the snapshot buffer for? Oh, probably this is vestigial from when I was doing reliable UDP a year ago. Man, it's been that long. Yeah, max send attempts. This is definitely from the reliable UDP code. The clients, local players. Yeah, man, it's been a while. That's a cool part, though. You start writing all this code and you can keep reusing it. You can remember how it works. I don't think do we even use this anymore? This is a big player input struct that I wrote when I was doing. I never recorded it, unfortunately, and since then I broke it. But I got live multiplayer voxel editing between different computers. With it was like unreliable UDP, and so it was really laggy and glitchy. But you could see a player edit voxels. Like they could send a command to your computer to edit these voxels that you could then see, and vice versa. And it was so laggy and unreliable that that's what compelled me to write reliable UDP and a little network simulation. And I never plugged it back in. I'm like, okay, well now I have something that works, because I made a video about it back in, it's like the January 2025 devlog. But you can see I wrote a network simulation that sends like tons of messages every single tick. And I just verified that it doesn't fail. Like it sends a billion messages reliably over UDP, like as I simulate loss and jitter and dropping and connection loss and all this stuff. So I definitely proved to myself that it works, and then once I saw that, I'm like, cool, I can just plug it into the engine later. And then I started working on 3D physics instead. Player inputs. Max local players. Let's see if it crashes when I do that. Still works. Does it? No, it doesn't. Okay. It crashes when we try to access the player inputs with new index, which is 64. Oh, so we do access it out of bounds, I think, because I think we got up to 64 before. And I thought we prevented that when I did the modulo snapshot buffer size. Oops. No, we only go to 63, yeah. So we don't access it out of bounds. was doing fixed point. A lot of this is ported from the 3D engine. I cannibalized some of it, and this is from in fixed point. I couldn't do certain math, and I can't remember what I needed this for. I think this was for 3D camera matrix rotations, and so I needed to calculate the arc sign. I can't remember. So right here, we initialize this game memory struct globally, a pointer to it, only in the web build. Can't remember why. Well, I guess we can access something in the player input. That's where we crash. Oh no, I think okay. No, I thought it was a pointer there. Definitely not a pointer. It's valid memory. Okay, well, let's just try to access something from new input, buttons, button up. Man, I have like 2 different input systems. This was an old shitty one, then I made a new, tighter one. I don't like this old one, and I need to figure out how to totally remove it from the engine. It's definitely grown vestigial by now. I guess I could work on that in Windows. And just gradually pull it out of all the code, make sure that it still compiles. But first I want to take a closer look. Never ends. New input, bits.up. Let's just look at that. It's like the up arrow key. I set it to true. The up arrow key is held. So it compiles now, but if just accessing this memory crashes us, and that might tell us something. Printing out everything every frame. If I just try to access this. Takes a while for the WebAssembly build, the WebAssembly side to build. Input is up. I'm not pressing up, and sometimes it goes to 1. What does that mean? Okay, so we're cycling through 64 entries in this array. Did we define it differently for the WebAssembly side? Max local player, snapshot buffer size. This shouldn't be a problem. I'm thinking that we're somehow going out of bounds into other memory and reading it as if it's set to that 0 or 1 bit. I know that doesn't make sense to you. I can't really articulate it that well. This would be print out snapshot buffer size max local players. Just gonna validate everything with printfs. Okay. I'm doing something in the WebAssembly to somehow mess with the game state. That can't be good. What does the Windows build think? It's always 0. It never flips to 1. Only when we actually press up does it change to 1, I think. Yeah, it's always 0 there. I think it might be going out of bounds somewhere earlier in the WebAssembly code, and it's only manifesting down here. I guess I can just put this at every step. I don't have any better ideas. Let's just see what happens right here. Just printed at different points in the loop. Do I even have assertions? It'd be nice to have assertions. This will fail. Just to make sure that it'll just crash immediately on Windows. Yeah, okay. Will that happen in the website build? I don't think it will. Yeah, okay. I don't know how we can debug WebAssembly any faster. We don't have basic assertions. Yeah, this is a consequence of not updating WebAssembly with my main engine every single step of the way over the past few months. Now we have terrible problems like this. Totally stumped. Okay, so we also initialize game state globally. How do we give it its memory? Maybe we don't give it enough? This is where we initialize everything for WebAssembly. To comment that out. I think that'll call this game net. Do we not actually set? Update vendors. Do we even need a global game state? Doesn't change anything. Yeah, we're gonna be blindly flailing all day. Sorry, folks. process file because we need a game state. Oh, well, I can just declare it like that, right? We don't actually need to make it global. Okay. Well, at least we got rid of an unnecessary global. And fix our problem. There's going to be a lot of problems like that. Makes you wonder if restarting would just be easier. Do I even use player inputs? I just kind of want to tear it out. Let's just tear it out entirely. Where do we start? Let's start in regular Windows. Okay. Maybe it's just a red herring. And of course I use it in network state. Not really. Oh well. don't even need it. We just feed it in from memory. Then I suppose we can keep snapshots of it later. So I just need to refactor the whole input system. I store it all in memory in the initial update, and then we push it into the game layer, and then I compress it into a cleaner function to use, a cleaner struct. But can we just use that cleaner struct right away? I would need to discard a lot of things. I was actually going to do that. Just do... Try it again. Okay. Huh. It kind of works. But now we don't see anything. I don't like how we never figured out why that was happening. That can't be a good sign. I feel like I'm building on a house of cards. I really don't like that. I think I'm going to undo all that and just go back to debugging exactly why that was happening, because that's really bothering me. I need to figure out why that was happening. So it should stop working again. No, it's still working? Okay. Okay, now it's broken. I really don't like WASM. I mean, I guess it's the best thing you have to port to a website, but I don't know, sometimes I need to reload multiple times for a change to take effect. What happens if I just access the 0th index instead? Maybe if I just go one by one, every single step, we'll figure out why it breaks. Just accessing it once? Can I like print out the size? So the sizes are correct. What happens if I just try to set one of the fields in it like that? That works, but this fails. Yeah, it breaks there. Why does that happen? There's something weird that happens in WebAssembly, like anytime you... There's something new you learn every time you try something that works in standard C. Is this undefined behavior? Defined in different places. It's probably the dumbest thing you can do, but I'm just going to resort to printing out every single thing. To what end, I have no idea. But I'm at a loss, so we're just going to spend a lot of time verbosely printing out everything. We'll do transition counts later. These are all integers. We'll just print all these out. Or better yet, what can we do, like buttons? Okay. This was stupid. I can, yeah. Really, really stupid. I don't know how else to get a read on the state. If you have any better ideas, please leave a comment or tell me what I'm doing wrong. Okay. It's all 0. That's good. try to set buttons, consumed mouse functions, all this stuff. Just littering the code until we start to get it to work again. See if just setting those two things works. Yeah. Consumed mouse functions, number keys. Function keys. I'm just going to methodically access every single piece of memory. Maybe one of these is killing us. Maybe that'll give us some clues as to what's happening. A lot of these were just experimental. Okay. We broke it. Okay. That's great. Somewhere in here, we are accessing null memory or doing something that's causing it to crash. So we're getting a bit closer. And now, just got to figure out what that could be. Okay. Still broken. These are definitely broken, or somewhere between here and there were broken. I'll just try and work in blocks here. So that works. So we break it when we try to read the mouse memory. Okay. It breaks when we try to read mouse DY. How could that be happening? Just double check. We comment it. See if it runs. It should run. Yeah. And then when we try to access it, crash. Yeah. I don't know why this could be happening. This makes no sense to me. We can definitely draw stuff, and we push the frame buffer in like way lower. Oh. Does it have something to do with the memory arena? Maybe it has something to do. Maybe we don't initialize everything correctly. Just leave a comment right there. Let me try and print it. See what happens. If we don't try to set it, if we print it, that's still accessing the memory, and will that still crash us? Wow. Okay, well we can definitely read it, but that doesn't look right at all. What happens if we print DX? Oh god, what did I do? It's a 16-bit integer, so it can technically get that large, but I'm definitely not setting it like that. That's freaky. How could that be crashing us when we just overwrite it? Well, I mean, I know it doesn't look like much, but we made a little bit of progress. Like, why the hell would this be happening? Been going for an hour debugging the same thing. Got a little bit closer at least. Wasn't a total waste. I mean, I needed to do this anyway. Is my arena not set up correctly? Initialize arena. I'm gonna see if does it crash us if I just try to set it to like 0? It should still crash us. Yeah. We broke it. Just trying to set it to 0 breaks it. I'm commenting that out and trying again. I'm just paranoid. I have no idea what's going on. It's still broken? Takes a while for the server to update the file, I guess. Okay. So we'll just see what happens when at the top of game init you just try to set it to 0 right away. Yeah, it just dies immediately. Before we even do anything with the game memory. This is weird. Yeah. We just kill it. We kill it right there. What the hell? What happens if we print it? So it's invalid right at the start. it's built into the struct. It's not a pointer. And we should fill it up right away. You can access the entity stuff in the frame buffer. Man. I've never seen something like this before. That's great. I try to go to the definition, it just opens up the same file. There we go. We have a macro somewhere that defines it differently based on if it's a web build or a Windows build. Yeah, I'm going to be debugging this for a while. We got a bit closer. I need to sit and wrestle with it for all day, figure out what's wrong, see if there's like some way. I need to start going to Stack Overflow. Like, let's just Google something really simple. Chrome Dev Tools, Memory Inspector panel, you can view and interact. Okay. Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea we could. Oh, but it's. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, it only stops in the JavaScript file, unfortunately. That sucks. Can you step into it? Okay, well, it steps into the WebAssembly. Wow. I wonder, can I disable everything in WebAssembly and just see if I can access that memory? And I might need to learn more about WebAssembly. I think I'll have to. Man. Yeah, no clue what's going on. I'm gonna sit down and stare at the screen for the rest of the day. Thanks for watching the stream at least, but yeah. One other viewer, I wonder who that is. But unfortunately, I'm gonna have to stop and really focus on this thing. Maybe I'll make an update video about it. It's interesting. I've never had this